Hey FlossTube, my name's Lee. I think I've called my channel Creatively. I'm in Wellington, New Zealand. Well, I live in Upper Hutt, which is just outside of Wellington, New Zealand, our capital city. I'm kind of new to FlossTube this year. I don't know why, but having been a stitcher since the 80s, I don't know. I just only found FlossTube this year. So thanks YouTube for the recommendation, somewhat randomly, because I hadn't been looking. Which meant that after a bit of a break of a few years, I'm back into cross stitch. But I did have all of my stuff in storage for a year while I was building a house in 2018, and while I was staying with friends while the house was being built, I was just, I really want to get back into cross stitch, and I was just, I have all this stuff, all the threads. I didn't want to go and buy things that I already had, so I just hung in there, and then anyway, I fell hard, but I've watched a couple of New Zealand ladies, Lisa's Stitching and Such, she's in Auckland, New Zealand, and Rachel from Rara's Realm. I ever mentioned on one of Rachel's videos I might give it a go, and she's like, I'll watch, so I'm like, oh, one watcher, potentially, very exciting. So yeah, I work as a project manager by day, which is very much in my head and hard and stressful and makes me think a lot. So doing things, I do scrapbooking, photography, dabble in some mixed media art for my own sanity, and cross stitch. Cross stitch is great because I can watch TV. I think you knew what tally was. I can watch, in fact, I only let myself watch Netflix or whatever streaming channel of choice if I'm stitching, the exception being if there's subtitles, although I still stitch while I watch the Americans, even though there's heaps of Russian, but I'm like, they're just talking about KGB shit, I can work it out, right? I don't need to watch the subtitles. So yeah, I only watch TV if I stitch, so I won't allow myself to just watch TV without doing something. I guess it's called active relaxing, I have no idea. Anywho, I did have, I finished today, which meant I got the iron out, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to iron one thing, I might as well iron all the things, because I stitch in hand, and I'm always going to stitch in hand. I stitch it rolled up, sewing method most of the time, unless I'm doing 1/1, stitch in hand, and things get rolled up. So I ironed all the things, and I thought I'd show you my finish, show you a couple of things I've got recently, and a quick little whip parade, and then we'll see how we go. So, no further ado, today I finished I did some French knots. I might replace those with beads. They're supposed to be beads. I did a terrible job of placing them, but I wanted to finish, and I can't be bothered going to find 35 red beads right now. So I'll leave it like this, live with it for a bit, and yeah, I'll find some. So this is, I've got this pattern of Etsy from a store called Lola Lotta Shop, Lola Lotta shop. It's a Russian designer, Russian pattern, hence the crazy back stitching, which was a challenge. Not that I'm fine, it's so random and switching between 2 and 1 strands, and kind of random, yet you sort of needed things to be in the right place. You don't have to be too fussy, but yet to be reasonably fussy. Anyway, so it's stitched on 32 count. It's a linen called Silver Birch, and the colour is probably about that. It's a little bit darker than that. It's kind of a greeny grey, which I thought would be nice for the elephant. So it's Silver Birch, 32 count Silver Birch from countrystitch.com. It's a New Zealand dyer. So that's the first time I've ordered from her and very happy with it. It's got a nice sort of hand-dyed feel about it, very subtle mottling, some light bits and some dark bits, which is exactly what I was happy to have. So yeah, I got that, so that's cool. So yeah, finish. I am not someone who has, so I will be buying, I'm building up my stash, having I traditionally, in the past, pre the internet, pre FlossTube, I was definitely a monogamous stitcher, but that was just because I see a chart, I buy all the things, I stitch it. I'm not someone who has things sitting around for a long time, so everything I'm going to show you has been started this year. I am very unlikely to have things sit around for very long. I enjoy the process, but I also enjoy the finished product. I'm not going to start more than what I can't finish in a year. That being said, I can finish quite a lot in a year. I've had other finishes this year. I'll show them as, like, if I do other videos, including a long dog. I finished Death by Cross Stitch. I started and finished Death by Cross Stitch this year, and it's been FFO'd. So that's my first FFO for ages. I've got a whole lot of stuff hanging in the wardrobe, and I've given a lot away, and I've sold things over the years as I've stitched them and then gone, I'll sell them to someone. I always try and get back the approximate cost of materials. Obviously you're not ever going to get back your time, but that's fine. But it's more just, you know, a Teresa Wensler. I'm not going to stitch a Teresa Wensler and give that away. But yeah, like a Teresa Wensler or a Mirabilia here in New Zealand can easily cost you up to $120 for fabric and materials, because things are really expensive here. And even when we're importing them, you know, we're converting them to the New Zealand dollar. As of, I think, end of November, pretty much we're also going to be having to pay GST on everything coming in. So yeah, it's an extra 15% tax on everything. So it's just something that, you know, you've got to be a bit mindful of when you live down here, is that everything, like whatever you're paying for it in the States, we're paying with shipping easily double that in New Zealand dollars and shipping costs. So you've got to be a bit more fussy. But I have bought a couple of things lately. I love this. I love samplers and I like houses and things. I have quite a few samplers to get framed. And that colour of that house is just so delicious. And those flowers are delicious. So well done, Lindy Stitches. This is just so much fun. So I have to do a bit of a check. I don't have any of the fancy flosses. I only have like 5 in my whole possession. But I do love the mottling, and I do love this fabric. So I probably will stitch it very close to as called for. I might sub things like the dog. I think that's the only place that colour appears. I'm not going to buy a whole floss to stitch that dog. I might even just stitch it with like a blend of 2 rounds, so I get some mottling, but just out of DMC and stuff. We'll see. I reserve the right to change my mind. But and yeah, I think she suggests silky for the silver, but for the moon, but I have other silver. I've got Krenak, I can use that, so see how we go. But anyway, I do love this. When will I start it? Well, it's going to take me a while to get all the bits and pieces, because I have a new house and I have a lot of landscaping to do, and I've got fences going up and stuff, so my stitchy budget is pretty limited. So I'll pull it together over time, and then once I get everything together, it'll probably take me a couple of weeks to stitch it. Yeah, probably, to be fair, maybe a month. And then I also got the Night Walked Down by the Blue Flower, which I just think, I know it's quirky. I'm not really into the acorns and squirrels so much of her designs, but this is just that little bit wacky, a little bit weird, a bit sort of like, almost like, I know that black cat's cool and the white peacock, but I did think it was a bit, I did think it was a bit smaller. I thought it was about this size, like this big, but it's not. It's 256 by 151. It's a lot bigger than I thought, which is fine because I like stitching big, but it's quite big. So yeah, oh well. I probably will do different fabric, and again, I probably won't use all the, who knows, I don't know what I'll do, we'll see. We'll find the perfect fabric and then worry about floss. So that's my stash acquisition. And yeah, so I think I mentioned, we'll do some whips, but I have started the Pilgrim. That's the Pilgrim. I really want to do Life After Death as a companion piece, but because there's so many shared motifs between Death by Cross Stitch and Life After Death, that it felt a little bit like it would just be stitching the same thing, whereas this has a lot of different motifs. I mean, there are some things that are repeated, but it's a lot more kind of, I don't know, it's a bit more movement, I guess less boxy. I mean, there's repeated stuff here, you know, some of these things repeat, but it just felt different. And also, I bought a bag at my local needlework store, which is mostly a quilting store and a wool store, a yarn store, but it has some, usually it has a rack with nothing on it, but you know, some stuff, they don't stock a lot. It's quite sad. I would buy more, but they just don't have it. But they have decided to go out of anchor threads, so they had, just weren't stocking them anymore, and they had some leftover stuff that they hadn't sold in a little bag for $2. There was about 30 skeins of floss, including some repeats, and all mostly really muted dusky colours. And I thought, the Pilgrim, Dusty Journey. I felt like doing that in more dirty colours. So anyway, I'm on 36 count Legacy from Picture This Plus, 1 strand over 2. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just doing these random colours. I've nearly finished those first top 4 pages. A few little bits to fill in. I sort of I'm not a page stitcher per se. I stitch the whole thing and then move on to the next whole thing. I tape all my pages together. So yeah, I did buy the dark colour. I bought about 6 skeins of that. I can't remember what colour it is. No one stitches an anchor, so it doesn't really matter, does it? So I'm enjoying stitching it. I probably won't rush to get it framed, I'm not sure. It's, there's like, I'd rather, get some of my other things framed before I frame that. Like I'm really enjoying it, but it's not like, it's the most amazing thing ever. Whereas my Death by Cross Stitch, I did love that. So, I'm also working on printer issues. Twisted Band Sampler from Northern Expressions Needleworks. I'm stitching on cord for 32 count bisque linen from Lakeside, and in the Soie d'Argent. Now I usually stitch bottom up, that Pilgrim was an exception, and because it's incredibly expensive to buy silks, I'm buying 3 at a time. I now have to reward myself with the 3 greens. I don't mind stitching repetitive patterns. I find it really relaxing. Once you know what you're stitching, you just stitch, you don't have to think about it. Although I did find I had to rip out all of that dark blue there because I'd stitched, there's 3 different motifs, patterns, stitches, and I'd left a gap between the second and the first, and I merrily stitched this, like, I think it's called a queen stitch. It's like 8 threads or something, and I left 1 stitch, and I thought, I can fudge the rest of it, and it's like I just couldn't. So I'd started on this stitch, like vertical cross stitch or whatever it's called, and I just had to rip it all out. And ripping out silk, 1 strand of silk, specialty stitches on linen. It's not fun. Actually, it was fine, but I just ripped it all out and then I redid it. Like, I ripped it all out and I stitched it all the next day. It was a horrible day, winter's day, and I just stitched it all to catch up. And I got it done. So yeah, that's the only real mistake I've made on it that I can tell. Oh, I think one of the stitches, I stitched it as it was supposed to be an eyelet, and halfway through I was doing Smyrna crosses and I was like, oh, I was meant to be an Algerian eyelet, and I'm like, oh, I'm not changing it. So I didn't do that. Let's call it modification. Yeah, bisque. This is the next one I don't have a chart for because it's a mystery. It's stitch your own adventure, I guess. It's Ink Circle's mystery adventure project or map, and basically you use polyhedral dice and instructions and flowcharts and algebra and a coin, and you end up stitching a mystery land, I guess. And I think we started this, I think this came out in August. Yeah. We've got the wet packet for the ocean stuff, but I just haven't sat down to do it. I'll probably pick this up next week. That's plans, by the way. I'll probably start doing things like the lighthouse and all stuff like that. So there's a whole backstory to this which I'm not going to go into right now. Maybe next time or once I start stitching stuff. Barbronna Nav is like my terrible pronunciation of Gaelic Irish, which is Bay of St. Bronna. So that's part of the whole backstory and stuff. So there's other materials that go with the backstory. So we'll pick that up. That's on 36 count Bramble, which is sort of mottily but green. I didn't want anything. I guess it's got a greenish tinge. It is nothing like, it looks a mushroom on my screen, but it is more of a, yeah, it's really not any of those colours, but yeah, it's a slightly greenish neutral, which I love. Bramble. And I'm also using some fancy flosses on that. I thought because I'm kind of new to the fancy floss market, I guess, apart from some silks back in the day on a couple of samplers that I did. So I thought I'll grab some silks, some overdyes that sort of match the theme, because I'm all about theme and overthinking shit. So sorry. So the black on mine's a Valdani 6 Fly Black Sea. I've got a Gast, tarnished gold, Weeks in seaweed, and haven't stitched any of it yet, but a classic colour works in shamrocks. I've kind of got that oceany Irishy theme going on with my mythical Irish land. I started this at the beginning of the year, which is I don't have a picture of because I just don't, but it's nearly done except for the December border. It's a mystery stitch along from linen and threads. It's a peacock sampler, so you can find it on their website. And yeah, this is on 32 count 32 count Belfast Summer Khaki, which is pretty much the only non-white or cream fabric that my crappy LNS had, and I actually like, I hardly ever stitch on white. My second piece I ever stitched was on black, so I went from white, I think I went from 16 count white Ada for the first thing, which I sold, it was kittens in a window, and then I went on to a black piece with Krennic quarter stitches. It's on 25 count Lugana. It had beads, ribbon, fractionals. I didn't know that those things were hard, I just did it back in the 80s. Yeah, so that's this will be finished in December when we get the final piece in December, and it's quite a lot of stitching in that border, but I'll probably get it finished by the end of the year. It'll be, normally one of these smaller lost areas, this is like 2 hours for me. It's pretty easy stitching, and yeah, these are a little baby 3 hours. The border took the most, And that one I did this border last night, the November border, just did that. I modified it slightly from the pattern because it wasn't quite symmetrical, and I'm a bit more anal than that, so I started, yeah, so it's slightly different from the pattern. If anybody is stitching that, if you want to know, send me a message. Another whip is a freebie from XS Collectibles, Cross Stitch Collectibles. They do a lot of fractional, and they do a lot of full coverage designs, including fractionals, and every month they publish a fraction of one of their fractionals as a bookmark. So this is how I've experimented with the floss for this, because I've got a number of projects that have like 80-90 colours, and they tell you approximately, like they go, you need 17 stitches. So I just went through, and I like organising and stuff, so this was kind of fun for me doing this. It's just, yeah, so I just flick it over. So that's the finished piece, and there's my floss card. So just taped on the numbers from one of the patterns. And this is on 18 count Ada 1/1, and I'm just over halfway. I guess halfway's about here. So the coverage is pretty good. It is, you can tell it's stitched, but I actually don't mind that because it is stitched. It is a stitched piece. I don't think it's supposed to look like a photo. I don't mind seeing that. I don't mind seeing the art, what do you call it? How would I say that? I don't mind seeing what's behind the art, like the materials are part of it and the process is part of it. So for that kind of thing, I don't mind. And you know, again, you hold it back here and it's going to be perfectly fine. You know, you're not going to, what's that, the 3-foot rule? Like, you can't tell that it's a little bit light on coverage. 2 threads over 18 is just too thick. I've started a piece that I was like, ugh. I just have to turn the oven beep thingy off one moment, and I'm back. I've only got 3 more whips, I think. Most of you will know HL's Moth for Kathy Barrack. In theory, there's a cell that I thought, yeah, I am part of the cell, but I forgot what it is, and I haven't actually hashtagged it, but next time I take a picture of it, I will. I was going to say LM, my initials. I am going to do the, what do you call it? The cut, so where it's originally was stitched, the fabric was stitched together to finish the piece, because presumably the HL had run out of fabric. So I've just left the gap and I'll just whip it together. So on the 40 count Weeks Havana linen, people complain about Weeks. The only first time I've used a Weeks, and it's pre-Zweigart, and people complain about it being kind of gappy. I don't mind. It's all called for DMC, except I changed the white. On the pattern it looks white, but the colour is like a pale yellow, creepy yellow, and I didn't like it. I wanted it to be white, so I've changed that for ecru. So my white is, you know, not actually white, but it's ecru. I thought it looked quite nice. Other than that, it's called for DMC. And yeah, first 40 count. This is my palette cleanser, Carol at Manning Designs. This is one of her cross-stitch quilt blocks. It's just so easy because it's little blocks, and so there's not a lot of counting, because you know that, you know, the diamonds are 9, they're 9 by 9 at their, you know, width and height, and all the half is, you know. Anyway, it's really easy. So I'm doing this 1/1 on 28 counts. I think this is my first 1/1 on such a high count. So this, I don't use the sewing method because otherwise you lose your thread. So this is stabby and pokey, but it's fine. You know, it's slightly slower than if I was doing the sewing method, but I enjoy it. It's just a nice little palette. So I've done the full width, apart from a couple of the blocks that went into the next section at the top. This is the bottom 3 pages, which are partial pages. It is a square piece, so it will be as high as it is wide. And I just, put that away, and then I'll pick it up again and do another few rows. As I said, it's a pleasure. It's really quite mindless. When I practice mindfulness, when I practice mindlessness, it's just like I can go into quite an automated mode, and it's a nice. It's hard to stuff it up, is really what I'm saying. And then the final whip that I've got is from Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts, the Pride and Prejudice. Was it a mystery? Sale, but it was a mystery stitch along. It was in 3 parts. If you are doing this and have avoided looking at your pattern, then look away. I'm going to show you the finished one. So that's the 3rd part that we just got through this week, last week I think. I think it started in September, but I can't remember now. And it's a reading book club, as well as a stitch club on Instagram, I think it is. But the timing doesn't suit when you live in the other side of the world and the time zones and all that. So these things often happen either at really strange times in the middle of the night or when we're at work. But some questions around the book and stuff. But I didn't do it. I did it for fun, because you feel like you're part of the community. I'm a literature major. I did that at university. 16th, 17th century lit. I did women's lit. So I did a lot of Jane Austen, and Pride and Prejudice is a classic. It's a lovely story. It's been dramatised so many times. The best, of course, is the BBC version with Colin Firth and Jennifer Earle, and we love it. And this is where I'm at. I've all called for, this is part 2, is at part 2, all called for except the yellow. I couldn't find, when I grabbed all my threads, I couldn't find the right shade of the yellow, which is 728, and I just couldn't be bothered looking for it. It was probably in another kit project. According to my inventory, I own it, but I didn't know where it was, so I just subbed it for a slightly yellow one. And it's on 28 count. I never stitch on 28 count, but I had this piece from a D-stash, Bendy Stitchy D-stash, and it's lentil. That's probably the colour there, lentil, which I think it looks quite nice on that. The yellow's a bit light. It's not that much. I could swap it out. It's not, but I'm not going to, so too bad. It's a bit light in there, probably the paint. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm probably not going to frame it. It's a bit, if it was on 32 count maybe, because just the stitches would be smaller, and I only stitched it on the 28 count because I had it in my stash, from my very meagre stash, and it fit, and I bought that on for no reason other than, oh, no one else bought it, I can buy it. So I don't know, there's some other stuff that I'm planning which I'm not going to ever fit on my wall. I'm not going to want to spend $200 to get it framed, which is frankly what it costs to frame something about this big, in New Zealand. So, but I'm thinking about kind of almost making a book, like a quilted book. I made one for my nephew. My sister was expecting her first child back in '93, so my eldest nephew, and I did a big cross-stitch counting book. So it's got little teddy bears and stuff within it. I think it was on, I know I stitched like 6 strands over 2 on 11 count or something. So the stitches are really, really fat. And then I put all the pages together, bound it like a book. It's really not like a book, it is a book. It's fantastic, and passed down to the kids and stuff. So I'm thinking about doing that with some of these things where I love them, like they're fun, and I could maybe just make pages out of, like quilt them or back them with other pieces and put fabric around it, bit of batting, kind of quilt around the edge, put some rivets in on rings, and then I could have a book of stitching, especially when it's something that's story based. I'm losing my voice. I don't know, we'll see. And then, I don't know, it could be on the coffee table or something, right? Or, I don't know. But there's some things that, if they ever get framed, it'll be like in 15 years when I've run out of other stuff to frame, and it's just not going to happen. Because it's just fun. I'm just doing it for fun. It's a sanity piece, not a change the world, change my life piece. The only other thing, I think I showed you that, the only other thing that I thought I would briefly is, if I do these videos, then maybe I don't lose the thing. I might show like a previous FO. I don't have a lot of FFOs because everything's been in storage for such a long time while I was planning and building my house, and I haven't framed things because it's easier to store things rolled up in acid-free tissue paper than it is to store things that have been framed. And when you don't have a wall to stick it on, where are you going to put it? And I knew I was going to build a house one day, and I finally did. So now I'm starting to get things framed. But in the meantime, I have quite a lot of FOs. So I thought I'd show you one that I did this year. It's a pattern I got online from a New Zealand designer. She designs needlepoint, but it's just the pattern, and I just did it on 18 count Ada because it's full coverage. And it's called A Cup of What You Fancy. It has tea, coffee and hot chocolate. And her website, she does a lot of like shops, and I think she like little 3D buildings and things. She's a whole series that go on, I think on plastic canvas, and you put them together. They're really, really cute. So do a village. They're really cute. They're just like, what will you do with them, right? But they're really cute. So if you're into that sort of thing, have a look at her website. So she's Ellie, E-L-L-I, Jenks, JENKS.com. And I adapted it. I swapped out the 3 shades of pink for orange because I do orange. I have an orange door, I have an orange couch, leather couch. I've got orange leather dining chairs. And yeah, 1/1 on 18 count Ada. So that's going to get framed and hung in my kitchen. So that will get framed sometime in the next year. And this will be a giveaway at some stage. If I ever get some viewers, not doing this for views, don't even care. I'm too busy to put the stress on myself of performing for people and having demands on them. But if I do this for fun, if I do it because I think I've got a voice that I'm losing, I can represent a different demographic. I haven't seen anyone else from Wellington on here, but yeah, this will be a giveaway, like, I don't know, 25. If I get to 25 followers, it's just a cute little pattern. This is how it came to me. It'll just be shoved in an envelope and posted somewhere. So yeah, if I get to 25 viewers sometime, then I'll give this away, because it is cute little pattern. It can be adapted for a bag. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. I think I've only got 2 videos to splice together. It ain't gonna be fancy. It's pretty rambly. I don't know, I'm sure I can do better. When I started, I've had 2 goes at this. When I started, the lighting was a bit better, but it's come around now, it's a bit glary. So it's a horrible rainy day, spring day. I will splice those 2 videos together, see whether I can bear it, the idea, and I'll see. Maybe I'll actually publish. If I do, my advice for you all is don't stress about it. It's just crosses on fabric. It's fine. You can do it. And yeah, don't let your needles rust. Okay, ciao.